played this record as frequently as
Go,
possible.
Vegeta.
Gotta get right with it now.
Let's do this.
Alright, so in this video, we are going to be reacting to GORESH's top 10 units in Dragon Ball Legends as of Ultra Kid Buu. So this video did release today, and me personally, I did drop my top 10 tier list, or initial takes, like a day or two after Kid Buu did release. So make sure to go check that video out if you guys want to see my, opinions and all my takes on, top 10, 15 unit list, because I do drop honorable mentions and stuff. But, yeah, I think all my takes are honestly what I still believe to this very moment. So a week later, they're around a lot of similar placements. A lot of things are still interchangeable. If you guys go check that video, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. But never actually reacted to a GORESH video on this channel, so I'm pretty excited to do that. I know Dugo has done this, or I think he's one of the people that makes these type of videos, so shout out to him. I did get this idea from that. But I thought it would be interesting. I've had people request my opinions on GORESH's takes, and I've never actually, just because I've never really watched these videos, I've simply glanced through a couple of the takes and, I've, thought about them, but I've never really sat down, commentated, really gave a reaction over anything. So it's going to be a first-time thing here. If you guys enjoy this type of video, please let me know in the comment section so I will know to do it sometime in the future. Make sure to drop a like and a sub to the channel if you are new as well. We'll be uploading all throughout. I do upload every day, so just all throughout the 5th anniversary. We do have that around the corner, so I'm very excited for that. But we're not going to waste any time. I'm just going to jump in. Don't really know what to expect. Like I said,
Hey guys, so today we're going to be
he's
covering
one of the
another
more
installation
known
in my top 10
YouTubers,
units
so
list for Dragon Ball Legends. This is going to
and
be
before, if you guys don't know who I am, if
2020
this is like your first time on the channel, I'm a consistent and current top 10 ranked PvP player. So I feel like, it's going to be very interesting to see some of his takes differ from mine. I'm not sure where he plays in ranking, but I play this game every single day, and I am very familiar with a lot of top meta teams, characters, units, and different variant setups, and where units stand in value based off like a meta screenshot, or like, not just individually based, but like where units should be long or near on a tier list. I'm pretty sure GORESH is going to nail it, so let's fucking go, dude.
Edition, so if you're watching this in the future, just keep that in mind. Now, before we get into the actual rankings, I always like to quickly discuss 3 points regarding this list, which are as follows. Number 1, all characters are considered at 14 stars. Best
14
teams,
stars are like a
max
must
boost, etc.
on tier list, just because it's like their full potential.
For each
so
character, as I think
do
it makes the
respect
most
that.
sense to judge each character at their maximum potential, and
Max
it's also
potential,
how
yep.
I've experienced using each character the most.
Experience, everything's going to be opinion based. We're not going to agree on everything here.
Of the best characters in the current meta environment, instead of just who are the 10 best characters in the game
individually, correct?
As the meta is constantly changing.
Exactly how I do it.
So just because a character is ranked at number 5 on this list doesn't necessarily mean they'll always be better than the characters ranked 6 through 10. So please
couldn't agree more on that.
Yep. Meta snapshot of the game. So
units do lose and gain value depending on how the meta does evolve.
That are entirely of my own opinion, which has been formed from my personal experience playing the game. So please feel free to disagree with the list and let me know down below if you disagree and why.
I'm intrigued.
So
I'm intrigued.
3 things I like to mention before we jump into the video. So with this,
is he going to do an honorable mentions?
I typically do not do honorable mentions anymore. So
he just
away
said
from doing that, but I think with the current,
so he's not starting out, because I knew you used to start out with honorable mentions.
Ultra Kid Buu is the most recent released character.
Nothing. Okay, he's going to start out with number 10 on the list right now.
Well, I guess. I feel like there's 2 ways you can really look at the meta environment of this game. There is a macro view of the game, and there's a micro view of the game.
Macro
means more of like a broad bird's eye view of everything.
Okay.
And a micro view is individual units. So I think from a macro point of view, the game is actually in a pretty decent spot. I would say in comparison to most other metas we've seen recently, and even in a while, there are actually a decent amount of usable teams and characters.
I agree completely with the meta current right now. It may seem a little bit, especially if you're in higher ranks, you are going to be seeing a lot of the same teams, but at the exact same times, comparative to, say, like Beast Gohan meta, or metas where you're only seeing 1 or 2 teams everywhere. Right now, we have a multitude, from Future, God Key, Androids, to, you name it. You're going to be seeing a lot of different, even, inferior setups, like units that wouldn't compete with, like, some of, like, the top 5 teams. You could still run them and be successful with them, right? The most random setups, right? You throw Pan on leader slots, you can rock, hybrids still, you can rock some form of Sun family still, you can rock Vegeta clan right now. It's a very diverse game, and I am enjoying it quite a bit.
So that's good. Thumbs up there from a macro perspective. From a micro perspective, when you take a look at like
Ultras still run the game.
Look at how they're controlling the game.
I believe what he's going to say
to be good as characters. There are a lot of toxic mechanics that all those characters are bringing to the table. And so I think from a micro perspective, the meta is not really in a great spot because a lot of the best characters in the game
are revolved around Ultras.
The best characters because they're doing something that is annoying, right? Or they're doing something that is not fun to fight against or just straight up toxic. So
surprised you didn't say that.
Taking more of the information that I talked about via the macro perspective of the game, where there's a wide variety of usable characters and teams. Okay. I feel like it's probably warranted for this video in particular, the May 2023 edition of the list, to include some honorable mentions because there are more than 10 usable characters in the game, which, funnily enough, is actually kind of rare, I think. But
it's around 15, 20 units.
I will be including the honorable mentions, but I'm actually going to be including
he is including
slots 2 and 1 on this list. And the reason why I'm including them at the end is because if I show like the full 6 honorable mentions or 5 or however many they're going to be,
we'll probably be able to guess who the list. The list correct
for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to withhold showing the honorable mentions until we get to...
This is why I usually start out my tier list with the number 1 spot. So I do this in reverse. Whenever I make my list, I start out with the best units.
Let's go ahead and jump into the
list
itself.
Down. It actually gets more difficult as the list goes on, just because a lot of units have similar value.
We have Blue Zamasu. One other thing I want to just quickly mention before we jump into the Zamasu is that I do want to...
He's definitely top 10 right now, in my opinion. I'm just going to say that. I don't know about number 10, just because he's arguably on the best teams in the game. Individually, I have had, on release, he is still a fantastic unit, but I have been slandering him a ton, especially before Kid Boo's release, that he was just there. Obviously he does whatever he does. He has great value, the healing, disruptor, whatever you name it, endurance, rush protection. But he was just getting melted by, specifically the Gogeta Ultra Rose team, and he still does in a lot of scenarios. He's just going to get melted by pretty much every unit in the game. But in combination of Ultra Kid Buu, top 10, he fits on the best team with Kid Buu, and even like with other variants of PO, maybe hits and stuff like that. So he fits on the best teams in the game right now. Top 10, I'd place him already. Like just jumping into the list, I would place Zamasu a bit higher. I don't think that much higher, but couple of spots, maybe not 10th, just because he's literally on the best teams.
Way too long. So
I'm just gonna say that
I'm gonna do my best to condense my thoughts and get everything out as fast as I can, so we can move through this at a brisk pace here. So number 10 is Zamasu,
one of the best options.
I was very close to not even including this character in the top 10, but I think he just barely makes the cut. The main reason why I dropped him from the prior rankings,
Ultra Rose melts him.
There's just a more, I don't know. There's just a bigger presence of Ultra Rose in the current meta.
Yeah,
just thanks to
huge.
He's weakness to
Ultra Rose. If you guys haven't, spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen my list, Ultra Rose is number 1 on my list right now. He is the most toxic unit over every other unit in the game right now. That Paralyze is stupid. The 3 Ultimates is stupid. The Vanish Restore, the Gauge, Type Neutral, you name it. He's got everything, but it's mainly the autopilot nature unit, right? And then the Paralyze on top of everything. He's very, very common right now. And to partner him up with, say Kid Buu, right? Disgusting. And then he makes, this Zamasu makes the third perfect partner.
We have seen a slight uptick in the amount of ultra hits that have appeared. Just
very true. Once again. Very true. So he's a great option.
Just going to be going up or
since
down.
There's so many, since there's so many Boos, like Buu just released, right? So you're going to be seeing Buu more than not right now. So ultra hits is just back in the meta, right? Anyone that's summoned for hits going to definitely be using it. To have a blue option is like almost mandatory on a build.
Due to the presence of Ultra Kid Buu and how he's affected
almost mandatory, almost.
I don't really see that many ultra hits, even with Kid Buu being in the game right now. So we begin to see more and more ultra hits, and they become.
Anytime I see an ultra hit, it's usually a 14-star ultra hit.
Because this guy is one of the 2 best counters in the game to ultra hit, next to Blue 17. But Blue Zamasu is still a pretty solid character.
Gohan. It's Blue 17 though. You're right.
Destroyed by Rose, and I think the setup where you're running the Zamasu next to Rose, I feel like less comfortable using that setup. Like Rose Zamasu and Kid Buu, I think, is a really good build, but
Rose,
I don't feel as comfortable switching into this character anymore, especially with how many, even still with Kid Buu flying around, how many Gogeta Blues are you're facing, right? He can just rush this character.
Correct.
How many Roses you're fighting, he completely destroys this character. So like 2 of the 4 most prominent,
even with the protection that he provides on the team, I couldn't agree more. Like I understand his placement and why he put him at the 10. I honestly, if it was before Kid Buu's release, I'd be like all on board with this take. It's just there aren't that many better options to have if you're running the, like, in my opinion, double ultras. All the double ultra builds are the best teams in the game. Whether you're running Kid Buu Gogeta, if you're running Kid Buu Goku Black, if you're running Kid Buu Hit, if you're running Hits Gogeta, if you're running Hit Rose, all the variants of the best teams in the game have 2 ultras, not 3, just because of the ultra ability, and you want to have full optimal viability of the build, have all the Z abilities, etc. Right? To have a third perfect partner, Zamasu fits in the mix of, majority of those builds, whether it's Rose, Kid Buu, whether it's Hits Rose, whether it's PO Future, you name it, right? Regen even. He does fit in a lot of those perfect, like, third glue type situations where it's like, yeah, he's, does lack, but he fits good. He meshes well with some of the best units. The healing, Kid Buu's healing, all that stuff could be really, really freaking good. So I do understand he's
prominent characters out of Kid Buu.
He's a little bit spooky. Like, he can be cooked immediately.
I still think Rose and Gogeta Blue are the 2 most prominent, the characters that you encounter the most often.
Rose,
this
Gogeta
guy
Blue,
doesn't really fare well against either of them. But with that being said, he still has some really good tools at his disposal.
Utility, yep. He's just a glue, basically. He's a glue to the team.
Intangibles, key reduction, endurance.
In my opinion, he should be a little bit higher,
pretty good character still. Solid addition to pretty much any team.
That's just my take.
I definitely feel like
nothing wrong with putting him number 10. I'm glad he's number 10. If he wasn't number 10, that'd be crazy.
Increased usage of Rose, and not.
He did say he was going to drop his honorable mentions a little bit later.
Number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9 on the list, we have Red Transforming Cell here. I think this character was a very solid addition to the game.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and say I put both of those units, Zamasu and Cell, like 2 steps higher. These guys are ridiculous with the best units in the game right now. So whether it's Regen, Future, or even PO, those are like the 3 builds that you're running. Rose, you're running Hit, you're running Zamasu, you're running Kid Buu. Partnered up with those, this unit has actually given me not trouble really. Like, obviously it's nice to take him down, but he gets his vanish back so abruptly. He gets the obviously the transformations, the heals, the damage. This unit is very toxic, bro, and he nullifies endurance. I don't know his kit completely, but the amount of times that I faced him and consistently had many issues with him in setups, maybe 2 step, like, he's almost, I didn't even put him in top 5, but he's like right there. So top 9, still top 10 unit. Couldn't agree more with like his value being very high. So I hope that he says that.
Granted that he was a Legends Mega Rising character, which I'm pretty much just going to equate to Legends All-Star.
Jumped into all my takes before he did mistakes.
As Legends Mega Rising, right? So this character's really good. I think he does actually fill a decent role as a pseudo counter towards Kid Buu.
Correct. He is also
really solid character all around.
Yeah.
I don't really have any complaints about this character. I think
one of the best counters to Kid Buu, second best
on the
next
Android
to Hit.
setup specifically. That team is of course very blast based right now.
Yep.
And obviously
he still does well blast based. He still does
well on that team. But I think with Blue 17, you can really sort of make anything work, right? But this guy obviously fits way better on Future, right? You run this guy in Future with a bunch of the other strike characters, with Rose. Of course, Rose covers this Cell's weakness to blue characters, but there really aren't that many like really, really annoying blue characters right now. Like 17 is still
blue is a lacking color if you really think about it. Blue is the only color without a top tier ultra, right? So every other color in the game, right? You're gonna have Gogeta, you're gonna have Kid Buu, Rose, and Hits. Blue is not covered for the OP ultra. Guys already know that ultras are just at the top of the game, top 4 units in the game, even, not only individually, but with the meta snapshot, these are the best teams in the game. A blue unit, there's no other blue unit in the game, right? That kind of is on to, LF Beast Gohan is the closest thing to it individually, even team dynamic based, whatnot. You want to pair up with a double ultra, basically, if you want to have one of the best teams. Cell does it. Zamasu does it. Beast Gohan does it. He pairs up with Gogeta Blue. You have pan support. Movies is still a viable team, in my opinion. But yeah, this Cell is a really good option to counter Kid Buu at this current moment.
We see Beast Gohan every now and then. I think Beast Gohan I've seen a lot more recently, just because there's been a lot more
reds.
In the usage
Cells,
of red
hits.
Which then of course makes blue characters more likely.
Very diverse
not
meta.
hit specifically. It's more so like
you're seeing pretty much every color.
I've actually seen a lot of people using UI Goku, so I guess that's why people are starting to bring back Beast Gohan. But blue Zamasu,
UI Goku.
So you run into these blue characters every now and then, but there really isn't like a super
means Rev UI, really?
crushingly powerful blue character, right? You take a look at the 4 main ultras right now. There's a purple one, there's a red one, there's a yellow one, and there's a green one.
Yep.
So there's no really like, oh my god, game-defining
blue unit
ultra character. So that's why I feel comfortable putting the Cell at number 9 here. I think he does fulfill his role pretty well. He's able to nullify Kid Buu's endurance with his main ability. The blue card does a lot of damage.
Cell is so toxic, bro.
Twice.
I put him a little bit higher, dude. I think he's one of...
all around a really solid release. I think when you switch,
one of the best partners for the double ultra build.
Half HP, he becomes
whereas like Kid Buu, Rose, and then
incredible
Cell could be
really
really ridiculous,
insanely good. I found that
and
during
he has
my God Rank with this character, I think it was either last season. No, I think it was actually 2 seasons ago when I did my like 3-hour-long God Rank grind. There were a lot of cases where I would switch in with this transform Cell when the enemy was under half HP, and I felt like I just had a guaranteed kill on anybody. Right? Going type neutral and getting cover null, and you draw a green card to refill your hand and get a bunch of damage buffs. Like that's I
think people realize how cracked Cell is. So he's been a little bit mixed, overrated, underrated in some aspects, but
like Future needed more buffs.
He really is up there.
And if the Android,
I never summoned for him, so all I have been able to do is face
Cells.
Cells.
Have this guy fulfill that role as well.
The one unit that I don't have experience using.
I think Regen actually does get a pretty decent buff with this Cell,
Correct.
but I think Regen is like one character away from
being a really
very top tier team. Of course, with Ultra Kid Buu as well.
Agreed.
Being a strike based.
So right now it's just Kid Buu, Cell, Zamasu.
If Regen gets one more really powerful character, which I think is very likely in the anniversary that we might end up getting Orange Piccolo to fill that role.
Agreed.
We could see Regen sort of take the reins.
He's making some really good takes here
for sure. So Red Cell's at number 9 here on the list. Let's move on to
number 8.
Alrighty, moving on to number 8, we have the tag 4.
I can see this. I can see this.
Character didn't move
it's
at all.
Around the same place that they have been for a really long time. It's primarily, in my opinion, to their individual nature. I know, said this before, but you want to rate units based off of meta snap. A meta, like how Goresh said it earlier in the video. I think he said meta snap, meta snapshot. And GT is the only team you're going to see this unit on. So they're not really a fantastic team like when they were a couple of months ago. However, they're still a top 10 team, meta team. I don't want to say they're top 5. They don't have an ultra in it. They don't have an ult. You could obviously mix around a team, but you want to have them usually on a full GT dynamic, and they could definitely get momentum. The toxicity with this unit is so crazy. But there are very limited setups. I feel like I couldn't agree more with this place. I'm pretty sure I put them around 8, 7, 9, something like that. I would put the tag 4s. So yeah.
From my prior list, I think they were also number 8 on the prior list. This character really hasn't been that affected by the release of Ultra Kid Buu. I guess the one indirect thing is that Purple 17 on the GT setup with this character is probably a little bit less valuable now because of Ultra Kid Buu releasing. Like I think, I
thought he was always an oddball.
Purple 17 on this list. He was very close to making it on number 10 with a few other characters too. But I feel like Kid Buu being as prominent as he is, with being as used as he is, with how strong he is, I barely didn't include 17 on the list. And I think the downswing in 17's usability, just because of Kid Buu, it's not huge. I still think he's good enough to be used. Of course,
I mean, Rose is still number 1 character in the game.
But that slight downswing, I guess, indirectly knocks this character a bit.
In my opinion.
I don't really have like a super in-depth analysis to talk about with this character. They're still pretty solid. They're
overall, yeah. Individually, this unit's pretty cracked. Yep.
Cover null.
So annoying.
I feel like, again, the analogy.
Constant vanish restore, constant cover null.
They're hitting you with like a million cards, and most of the time, they're not really doing much damage until they go back into Goku, right? So I feel like they're pretty solid right now, still in the meta. Against a lot of these annoying blue characters like Zamasu 17 and Beast, they do perform pretty well. And
they still need, they need a little bit more for GT to shine, right? They're going to need an ultra unit for them to really increase in value. Around now, they're going to stay around 7, 8.
Something that they, I think, made a mistake with is, which we'll talk about later on, is the tag Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta. The Vegeta side has permanent type advantage over this character, and I think if that character was just a little bit better, we would potentially see a bit of a fall off on this
of
character.
This character, that's crazy. That's
I don't
true.
think that Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta characters at the level.
Okay, so we already know that Boo Bros are not on this list,
so,
right? Yeah.
I'm gonna leave them at 8. I'm not really gonna move them up or down. I feel like they're kind of just in the mix still as a pretty decent unit. So number 8, Tag Force. Let's move on to number 7.
W take.
Alrighty, number 7, we have Revival UI Goku. People are going to continue to call me dumb for having this guy even in my list at all.
What?
And I'm just going to keep putting him on the list as well.
No, this is like the craziest take. Bro, I love this character, bro. I'm super biased too, and I just looked for every good reason. I think this character is really good, but he's not in the top 10. I'm just going to be 100% with you guys. Can he be argued? Maybe, right? I'm a very good advocate for that gauge usage. The gauge usage is crazy, right? If you're a master of not being able to be hit, you're going to be doing a really solid amount of damage work. He has a decent amount of consistent teams, blast-based setups if you want to leader him on what androids. Uni-Rep is still up there, with hits, 17, whatnot. He has some builds and stuff, but as soon as he gets touched, so no player's perfect, a lot of RNG, he gets instantly decimated, bro. So, like, this guy being on a top 10 list, or even this, what is he? This is number 7, 8, 6? I think this is 6, right? Yeah, Zom. He had, bro, I forgot who he had. What the fuck? He had Zom, Cell, Fours. Yeah, this is crazy, bro. This is number 7. Okay, number 7. I'd put him at like a 15 to 20-ish spot. I'm just going to be 100% with you guys. Maybe you could argue him like honorable mentions, but that's just my take. I love this character, though. Let's go.
He's deserving of it, and I do definitely think this guy is still deserving of being on
the revival aspect is great and everything, but he instantly loses
what happened
it.
Actually, is this character actually ended up swapping spots with the Tag 4s.
Okay.
So on the prior list, I think I had this guy at 8. And the Tag 4.
So he's increased in value?
Something like that. I don't remember. But this guy is now slightly ahead of the Tag 4s. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I think spots like 5 through 10 on this list,
unit does not scare me, bro.
theoretically move around pretty freely. There's not really like a gigantic gap in between.
I know you can do work with this unit, on the list bro, but he's not consistent. I think once you get into 1 through 4, that's when things he's not consistent enough.
Take a turn for like a different tier of character. So 1 through 4 are pretty much set in stone, at least in my opinion, in terms of like them being
1 through 4, correct?
Yeah, almost. But
so there's a gap between the
Goku
4 units and
number
the
7. I think
through 10.
The main thing with me is just the fact that we are seeing, I guess, people more hesitant to bring Ultra Gogeta Blue with Kid Buu being around now. Not really that big of a change for this character. The big issue
people are still running Gogeta Blue
prior to Kid Buu releasing was just Gogeta just walling this guy off permanently.
Okay.
So with the fact that we're encountering overall less Gogeta Blue,
specifically
prior to Kid Buu
is still being ran the same
I think
amount.
in my God rank grind, I found like 48 out of 50.
I know GORESH is in a different queue. He's in the Japanese queue, so he is experiencing a bit different, gameplay experiences and stuff.
Pick up a bunch of Dragon Balls with his pre-revival form. And the UI Omen
he's not wrong though. This unit does have an insane amount of utility, right? Whether it's obviously using all his cards, popping his main, you're gonna get cover nullification, you're gonna get type neutrality, and you're gonna get a new set of hands. So he does a lot of great things, along with being able to revive, have the the gauge. All these abilities are actually great. His defenses are just abysmal, right? He is one of the. He's not supposed to be, I know that, but even team dynamic wise, he's just a little bit. It just feels like there are better options, especially teams. If he's going for the meta snapshot we've been talking about, he really has limited options where he's gonna really be protected. Or, if he's supposed to be your main damage dealing unit, you gotta have a god tier tank. I mean, Jiren exists. You got hit on a team, he's another damage dealer unit. What other teams are we gonna be running this unit on over Uni-Rep? Like God Key? Type beat. So you got to really think of like the team combinations if you want to really include this unit. It doesn't have too many.
And the fact that he has revival, I think, is a pretty
to warrant him top
tool right now.
Who's going to put above this?
Right now?
Is he even?
With how easy it is for characters like Kid Buu to start combos with their AoE green cards, with the cover null, with Rose, just having infinite card draw speed, it's really important to have a backup plan. And this character having a revival is a really good backup plan in case you have to just end up sacking off a character. So I think this character does bring a lot to the table, and he will continue to be on my list as long as I think he is worth it. And I think
I like the unit. He's really fun.
Number 7 is Revival Hue. Let's move on to number 6. Number 6 on the list is going to be LF Beast Gohan. I think he was also 6.
Kind of swapped my 5 through 10. It's like opposite. I think I have Beast Gohan in my top 10, but he's not at 5.
Kid Buu is in the top 4. Like the
movies. It's good, but it's not like.
Was I just put in Kid Buu above this character, and he sort of like.
All right, individually, Beast Gohan's up here, no doubt in my mind. He's like number 5 individually, but meta-wise,
the same ranking.
Beast Gohan gets.
I think the addition of Kid Buu in terms of how it affected
blitzed,
this
bro,
character,
by some of the best
kind of a net neutral. Pan
gets
a little bit of extra value from Kid Buu.
Pan's always had value.
Obviously,
Pan's had value since she's dropped. She's just on every single team in the game. Pan should be here.
A pretty buffed up role for herself on a team with this Beast Gohan.
Her value is infinite. You're running her on every single build.
More annoying characters to fight with Kid Buu because of the key reduction as well. Even though Kid Buu kind of neutralizes it with his
almost every build. She's that perfect glue for a lot of teams that support right
a lot.
But
the negative
I can see Beast.
Kid Buu's addition is that Rose is a lot less in check now than he was, right? So Ultra Rose's release, of course, we still had the monstrous Ultra Gogeta.
Right, so if we're thinking about movies, it's that like the only team you really want to run Beast Gohan on. One of the primary teams or some form of Sun family. I know you could run him with Forku, you run him with Pan and stuff like that. Say if you're running him on movies, right? Rose and then Gogeta, Kid Buu. So Rose and Kid Buu. It's like the best, arguably the best team in the game. Completely counters movies off. And then Zamasu counters Pans. Like a complete color counter team. If you're running the Forku variant, you're running into Pan still. You're running into Roses. It's tough for the movies build. It's tough for Beast Gohan.
Every single match without question. Like if you weren't running Ultra Gogeta,
running into hits.
That's just the way it was.
He's also really common. So
Rose was
not
sort
as
of
common
in his shadow. For
Rose,
Kid
Buu.
Now with Kid Buu out, at least Gogeta Blue has a check, and people are a lot more hesitant to run him. And so we are seeing a massive upswing in the amount of people using Ultra Rose right now. He's sort of just almost an unmatchable character right now.
Correct. Number 1.
That, I think, does negatively affect this Gohan. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's like this Gohan's crazy. He's unusable. Like you're crazy if you run this character like that. I don't think it's at that level.
I don't know how he has him at numbers.
Type neutrality. I think it was the first like 5 switch-ins or something like that. So
yeah, he's not bad. He just gets instantly killed like Rev you up.
Disadvantage against Rose. But Rose does have the type neutrality removal ability with his blue card, but then you just switch, right? This is pretty much, I'm going to say the same exact comment I said on the prior list when I talked about this character. This is pretty much the definition of a carry unit. Like, you build the team around this character, and then this character just is the character you use to win the matches.
It was back when hybrids was meta, right? You would double support. You could still run this.
Not as good as the rest of the game, or as the rest of the top teams in the game are right now.
Yeah.
That does hurt this character. But I think as soon as we start seeing more hybrid Saiyans get added,
he's going to get insane value again. Just because Beast Gohan's one of the best rounded out characters individually in the game,
more support
for sure.
For the team.
I'd put him at top 5.
At that point, this character will
individually,
definitely
top
start
5
to be seen as one of the best characters in the game again, because he just does everything. I mean, even still to this day, he does all the things you would want out of a carry unit. So he is at number 6 right now, but I could definitely see him moving up depending on what we see in the future.
Me personally, I wouldn't have him this high right now. Around like 9, 8, 10.
Coming in at number 5, we have LF Android 17. This might end up being a bit of a controversial one, I guess. I've seen a lot of people not liking this character as much recently, which I guess makes sense.
I can see it. I can see it. I mean, he is Androids is the best non ultra team in the game. You're playing against Androids where you're running double 17, Android 21, even the tag droid, Cell, whatever. Androids are very freaking powerful. Top 5 units in the game. Like I said, the best teams in the game all have double ultras. That's just the reality of it. Even if the team pairs up, a lot of teams have a really bad defense right now, specifically blast defense. These units just shred through a lot of the best teams, but it doesn't necessarily make them the best teams. Like paired alongside the best teams with all the utility things that the best units in the game can do. This unit individually, great. I can see him being up here in an individual nature, whatnot, top, But right now, I'm trying to think of the builds. He's on Androids and Unirep. androids, uni-rep, any blast teams, it's just really androids. So he doesn't pair with any double ultras. You could do uni-rep with hit and then run like another ultra on leader slot. It's definitely a possibility. He does provide the cut penetration, stuff like that. It's just my initial take before. I've been doing that with every unit.
That's right. Rose is
jumps in.
Very
Rose, right? Rose having blue units out there
does not particularly fare that well against Ultra Rose, but I would say he does pretty good against the entire rest of the game. But I will admit it is pretty important to do well against Rose. But what I'll say about this character is he pretty much is the polar opposite.
He was saying about like a lot of like this is supposed to be like a meta tier list, but in reality, he is meta. It's just top 5 is
for Beast Gohan. So Beast Gohan and this character, like, they literally could not be more different. Beast Gohan is once again
on the best unit. In my opinion,
want to build the team around
the units that you're going to be seeing every single game, right? You're seeing them you're seeing 17 a lot, fair enough. But units that are perfect partners to the best units in the game, in my opinion, have more value. Just because, they are literally on the teams that you're running on the best in the game, right? So the double ultra builds, if you're having Pan on these builds, you're having Cell on these builds, you're having Zamasu on these builds, right? In my opinion, those units should be a little bit higher. These are secondary, teams / options / so, he's still up there, uni-rep, whatnot, but it's such a specific team.
Gohan, and he will be the one that carries you to victory.
I can see this one, though. I can see this. It's like, I'm like 50-50 with this take. I could see him in the 10, but I personally put him in honorable mentions.
Else.
I personally added
him providing the other characters with additional mechanics and additional.
Rose is too prominent for blue units right now. So Zamasu, I could understand why he barely makes it. He should make it because he fits in the team.
Ultimate, he has the team heal.
Beast Gohan,
he has the uncancelable endurance.
This guy,
he has the double vanish. He has the
gets brutalated by Rose.
He's able to extend combos really far because he has the blast card draw. He has a very, very 30 counts of. Cover null on main ability. He gets cover null when his full gauge
his utility is ridiculous.
His green cards. Like, this character is a really powerful, just like second best character on your team. That's what I was calling him when he first released. Like, this is going to be the best, second best character on your team, pretty much like forever. Like, I definitely see this character aging potentially just as well as Future Gohan did.
I've heard people say that.
Pretty much just like the best leader slot character in the game. You put him on literally any team, and he's good.
He's really good. He's really good.
Feel a lot better. It's going to make your team a lot more survivable.
I'm thinking of like a team dynamic wise, though.
Do something right. So
some of the best teams right now.
I think at this point, honestly, pretty underrated by a lot of people.
Underrated. Okay.
The fact that he himself is not like tanking and destroying Ultra Rose, I don't think is as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. I will admit it would be nice if the best. I don't want to call Rose the best character in the game, but it would be nice if, like,
he wants to.
The most annoying character in the game, I will definitely call Rose the most annoying character in the game, was not green, so that this character could thrive a little bit more.
To be fair, the top 4 interchangeable. I've said this many times.
This character definitely does still have the tools
when rating
at his disposal to not completely get shut down by Rose. And I think what he's bringing to the table for every other character you're using with him is just too good to really ignore and knock him too much for that. If you want to put this character,
I can respect a lot of the takes. It's just a different point of view from looking at it.
Like, I'm not saying like, oh yeah, he's definitely number 5, unswappable with any other character on the list. Like, I don't think that.
It's just
but I definitely
can see him more of an individual.
And I think he definitely is good enough to be there. And I definitely see this character potentially just out aging the rest of this list.
Okay.
So we will see.
That is completely fair.
This is going to be LF17 at number 5. I think he's just providing too much for the rest of the characters on this list and in the game to really ignore.
That is completely fair.
Yeah. So let's move on to the top 4. I think the top 4 are
okay. So this was number 5, and he didn't include. See, this is the craziest thing. The Pan just gets like dropped off. Like, I understand she's not providing. Unless he does the honorable mentions, right? Like, he's probably going to include honorable mentions next to some of the units in the top 4, which is understandable. I still think that the Pan setups are, I don't want to even say overrated or underrated, like none of that. They're literally meta. Pan is more common than the 17, in my opinion. You're running into Pan, like I said, Pan on any of the double ultra builds. Every single one of them, you're able to run Pan and double ultras. That's just a fact. And she's one of the most valuable SPs in the game from her sub-count manipulation, her key reduction. She tanks, she heals, She, she spawns a blue and green card. She goes type neutral. She's constantly supporting. She does heavy support buffs. Is ridiculous. So units are just, and she's fodder. You're just going to sack her off at the end of the day to Rising Rush or whatever the case is, just like you would do a third-party unit, Zamasu, any glue unit to a double ultra team. I think he should have... I don't know. That's just my take personally. I know he's going to include Pan in the honorable mentions. I really hope he does because her value... She's a unit that exists in the game.
Ultra
she's a support,
Gogeta Blue, of course.
She's not doing individual stuff like these units, but like I said, he said it's not an individual list. It's a meta snapshot. Pan, just like when Beast Gohan meta came out, Pan, Future Gohan were right next to Beast on the top list, right? Pan is still up here in value. She's still in every single team primarily, right?
It's actually probably my most controversial place on this.
Gogeta, number 4. I could see it. I could see Gogeta from 4 through 2. So 2, 3, 4, I could argue Gogeta. I can't put him at number 1 right now just because Kid Buu and the teams that Kid Buu, elevates, or like the combinations that team Kid Buu elevates. You're seeing Kid Buu a lot in this meta, and he just walls off Gogeta. But Gogeta, obviously, goes type neutral. Obviously, is still him. Rising Rush, all the abilities. I'm not going to go through Ultra Gogeta, but he's you could argue alternate the 1 through 4. I'm not going to argue number 4 with
it's tough,
Gogeta.
Right? I think the next 4
crazy.
characters are
it's
pretty
crazy.
Self-explanatory.
That means
he. I guess it's just the
me personally. I put Gogeta at number 3 on my list.
I guess controversial
number 3,
here,
just because this guy is
number 4. I think Ultra Kid
individually too good.
Because here's the thing with Ultra
I will
Kid
say this: Gogeta is still number 1 when it comes to individually in the game, in my personal opinion.
Released, right? Obviously, this is a result of Ultra Kid Buu being yellow, and honestly, being specifically designed to counter this unit. I think even with Ultra Kid Buu as
exactly
as he
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what unit drops, bro. Gogeta has been able to
just get rid of this character. The fact that this Gogeta is still at number 4 is a testament to how absurd this character is.
He's literally honestly, ridiculous.
Think about that. Think about Ultra Kid Buu, how good he is, how pinpoint designed his kit is to get rid of this guy and just completely chuck him away.
Lock.
And this guy is still number 4
wall.
on this list. That is pretty insane.
Gogeta, when Kid Buu's on the field, he has that anti-rush.
It's not like Kid Buu releasing completely kills this character. This character still has the single best unique gauge in the entire game. Honestly, pretty much the single best mechanic in the entire game.
Individually, he's up.
Essentially, just having a self-cover change. He's able to go type neutral, so even against enemy Kid Buus, he's able to do a lot of... Like, I've definitely had instances where I've been using this character, and I'm able to just kill the enemy Kid Buu because I use my green card to go type neutral, pop my ultimate, and he's just dead. The Vanish Recovery, the Endurance Nullification on the Rising Rush...
Everything. His utilities through the roof on top of the damage, right? Team setups, everything.
Not fair.
Yeah.
That's what this character is. But... With that being said,
number 4, I can respect it. I can respect it
because I think
personally,
they did
like
a good job with having Kid Buu not only be an offensive counter to Gogeta Blue.
I personally think he's going to say that the teams that Kid Buu provides, like his best teams, are better setups than what you could run with Gogeta right now at the moment. So in my opinion, right, whether you're running Kid Buu with Hit or you're running Kid Buu with Rose, they're better builds than you can do with Rose and anything, right? So Kid Buu walls off Gogeta really freaking well, and then, whatever your second, third unit is going to be also somehow counters, Gogeta build specifically. But, this guy has a way of just getting around it.
A defensive counter to Gogeta Blue. They gave Kid, like, if they didn't give Kid Buu this mechanic, then I think Gogeta Blue would still have an argument to be like 2 or even 1 on the list still. They gave Kid Buu essentially what 17 has, so slightly worse version of it.
The anti-rush
rushes this Kid Buu. The endurance nullification mechanic he gets on the rush.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful, yeah.
So you actually can't just rush Kid Buu with Gogeta because you won't be able to nullify his endurance. I mean, you can rush him, but you won't kill him. He'll still have his endurance left. So the fact that they gave Kid Buu pretty much a perfect defensive counter to this Gogeta Blue on top of his offensive counter that he has against this Gogeta. I mean, the green card being an AoE, cover null granting, strike card switching, priority gaining ability.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
It doesn't get more pinpoint targeted counter than that against this character. So with all that being said, I kind of will value the remaining 3 characters over this guy right now.
Okay.
One other slight thing I can say about this Gogeta Blue being at number 4 now. is obviously with Kid Buu being yellow. We've seen, again, I'm not going to say a massive uptick, but a slight uptick in the amount of Ultra Hits flying around. And I think Ultra Hit is a pretty fair counter to this character. Like, Ultra Hit catches this guy on a time skip, he's dead. That's just,
Hit catches anyone in a time skip in a proper time.
So Ultra Hit is a pretty good counter to this character if you catch him in a time skip, which is not that hard to do, right? So I have this guy at number 4. I could understand if you want to put him a slot or 2 higher. This is probably
interchangeable. It's very fair. So you say slot or 2 higher, so top 2 to 4.
Video. So if you want to go into that, I don't really care. This is my opinion. But
he can't be number 1 in my opinion. He can't be number 1 right now.
Again, it is a pretty big testament to how good this character is that he's even.
I wonder if Goresh is going to put Rose. I don't think he's going to put Rose at number 1.
But there we go.
He's going to put number 3. He's going to put Buu at number 1, bro.
Coming in at number 3, we have Ultra Hit. So I'm just going to straight up say
I could see it, but
basically the rest of the list, because you guys at this point, you guys know the rest of the list. I'm not going to give out number 1 and 2, but I will say this. I think there is a very strong argument to make for this character right here
being number 1,
for Ultra Rose Goku Black and for Ultra Kid Buu to all be number 1.
Okay, all right, it's a fair take. I'm going to say this one thing that I usually say when I'm talking about Hit specifically, is that his mechanic comparative to the rest of the other Ultras, right? Every unit has a distinct ability mechanic, something that makes them completely broken, and especially when you pair them up with the other Ultras. This guy counters Kid Buu, one of the most meta units in the game right now, just released, all that. He pairs well, a lot of different units. He just meshes really good right now. His time skip, if it's not for that, I just don't see him as overall value, right? He has a Rising Rush, the time skip is basically like a guaranteed kill, right? So yeah, that within itself, you're like, that's broken. It is broken. But if you mess it up, and it's very easy to counter, it's very easy to play off. However, it's like a 50-50 chance. You could also just swap in and click a green card, right? This guy's kind of ridiculous. But in a scenario where you don't get to pop that time skip off, I am one of those guys that's like, Hit's kind of ridiculously carried by that mechanic, and I know might disagree, agree, whatever. Like, I just think that Hit immediately gets placed at number 4 for that reasoning, that he's not as consistent, as he's not as autopilot as the other 3 units in the game, right? Kid Buu, Gogeta, or even Rose, just the blast armor gameplay, the AoE green card, cover nullification, and even the paralyzed Gogeta. The autopilot gameplay surpasses the one-time time skip chance, right? If you mess that up, it's not like you have blast armor, it's not like you have an AoE green card, it's not like you have paralyzed, it's not like you have endurance. Me personally, the individual prowess of this unit puts him back to 3 or 4. I could see him being argued for number 1. Also, like the 1 through 4 is just interchangeable, but that's just my personal preference. It's that take specifically. That time skip has its flaws. It's also ridiculous. So there's that.
If you are somebody who thinks that any of those characters are number 1, I would just say okay.
Yeah,
I'm not going to.
It's a fair take
that, because they're all viable characters to be number 1 in the game right now. And I think that is specifically the reason why this meta, from a macro point of view, which I talked about in the beginning of this video, is actually in a pretty good spot, right? You don't have a clear, definitive number 1 character in the game,
correct,
which I think we did have with Ultra Gogeta Blue for a while. But now that we have a clear target against him with this Ultra Kid Buu,
he's going to put Kid Buu at number 1.
More healthy balance of different teams floating around, because there isn't just one clear-cut best character.
I don't think I could see Kid Buu at 1.
So that's why I really think there's not like one
see him at 2 through 3, Kid Buu 2 or 3.
You can really have Hit. You can have Kid Buu.
I could even see Hit over Kid Buu.
I ended up going with Hit.
Even though I'm putting him the lowest, I could see Hit over Kid Buu.
This is not really a knock against Hit, because I think Hit did gain a lot of value.
Correct.
Kid Buu release.
He's also very limited.
Kid Buu is yellow. And, of course, Ultra Hit is going to just straight up annihilate Kid Buu with the time
Hit's
skip.
Very interesting unit, right? I think he's very interesting. So good
I just think Kid Buu and Rose are a little bit more obnoxious, number 1.
Best team in the game.
Easier for them to be usable. Like,
best team in the game,
not really doing anything super obnoxious.
So we already know that the top 2 units are Rose and Kid Buu, right? So depending on whoever he puts 1 or 2, those are my top 2 units also. So he does agree with the best 2 units in the game, paired to, more obnoxious, that Rose being my number 1, Kid Buu being the perfect partner pair for either hits, even Gogeta, specifically Rose. The two of them combination-wise, very ridiculous.
Does feel like if you're not doing something toxic or obnoxious, then you're just not
paralyzed, and then the AoE green is just ridiculous,
so bad,
bro.
But it's just
hits got it, bro, but it's very easy.
I wouldn't really consider the time skip to be cancerous or toxic. I could understand if you think that, and I think it's like half toxic, half not toxic.
Okay,
like you get touched once by this character and you're dead with the time skip, but it does take some level of understanding of how it works and some level of skill to utilize it to its fullest. This character's really good. I'm not saying
he's not an easy unit to use.
Right now in the current meta environment, Rose and Kid Buu, I think, serve as a better tool to use to rank up a little bit, right? And that's really the main factor I'm looking at, right? So if you're somebody who's gunning for rank 1, if you're somebody who's gunning for God rank or top 50, top whatever, like the top hemisphere of the game in terms of ranks, I think I would
very fair
value Kid Buu and Ultra Rose higher. I think
fair.
The combination of those two characters together, even on like just a future setup, is just it's too strong. Like Ultra Hit is a good deterrent to that team build, but I mean, Rose gets going on there. You have a counter to Gogeta Blue.
Autopilot.
You can run a Blue Zamasu on that team as well to deter hit as well. Like, that's the team I was using. I was using Kid Buu, Rose, and Blue Zamasu. And the main reason why I was using Blue Zamasu is because I was scared of hit.
Best team in the game.
Setup. So you can throw on that, really powerful.
I don't know how he has Zamasu at number 10.
That Blue Zamasu is the
single that he's mentioning.
Blue Zamasu in combination with Blue 17, I think, are the two best counters to hits time skip mechanics. So the fact that you can run,
he's literally
Blue
saying
Zamasu
the best team in the game,
team together with Kid Buu and Ultra Rose and have it work really well on the future build with like Mai's HP buff and the Zenkai buffs for Rose and stuff like that's just
Zamasu.
It's just too good.
Yeah,
it's too strong. And
who's gonna be number 2?
The reason why I have Kid Buu and Rose above this character. But
Let
this
it be
character
Buu.
is still insanely good. I think in the right hands of somebody who knows what they're doing with this character, this character does have a very
the way he's talking about Buu, he's not going to put Buu into. I could feel it.
I will not really argue against you, but in my opinion, I think Kid Buu and Rose are slightly ahead.
Maybe I don't know.
At number 3, let's move on to number 2.
Rose?
Man, this was a tough decision. I was sitting here and looking at my screen at both these characters for a while.
Fair, but
I have Rose at number 2.
Me personally,
Kid Buu is number 1. So we'll just get that out of the
way.
way.
Kid Buu at number 1.
It was tough.
Okay.
Again, if you want to say Rose, you have him at number 1. I will not argue against you.
It's 1-2 scenario.
Rose
type A, type B scenario.
Absurdly powerful. I think a lot of his value, of course, is from the blue card.
Yep.
We have the multiple stacks of card draw speed he's able to get from the enemy switching.
Yep.
He has a really nice green card, able to heal himself, draw a blue card, draw a strike card. He actually does have a way of dealing with Gogeta Blue's gauge by, launching a blue card when Rose has a attribute downgrade like bleed.
Correct.
It allows him to not be able to connect with the blue card after he counters, right? Able to go type neutral with the main ability. He can launch up to 3 ultimates in one fight. A lot of healing.
Bro.
He has insane defensive utility, right? He goes type neutral on cover change. He lowers card draw speed. He's destroying Dragon Balls. Cover change against this guy's essentially doing everything in the game almost. Just a ridiculous.
I can see it. I can see it.
Stronger now than he was on the prior list because of course we have Ultra Kid Buu who's able to fill the gap, the one gap in this Rose's kit, which was his weakness to purple characters, which. This is
very interesting, very interesting way to see it. It's going to be all interchangeable at the end of the day, basically, to what he's saying. It's not like a definitive number 2, number 1, number 3 for the Ultra specifically. It's the way you perceive the teams and whatnot.
And you win.
Yeah.
Right? So, this character essentially right now doesn't really have many
weaknesses.
Rivals right now. I mean, besides Ultra Gogeta Blue, like what purples are you really running into? Purple 17 is the only other one I can really think of right now.
Yeah, Purple 17.
Again, you just go into Kid Buu, and that's really.
I mean,
there's that.
Every unit can really take this guy down.
Yeah,
also.
I mean, this character's ridiculous.
It's not like he's like unbeatable or anything, but he's
in recent
definitely one of the most
for me
oppressive units of the game.
The blue card is just too good. I think the blue card should have been a long animation because it's
too good. Yeah,
too often in the fights when you
50-50
launch that from long range. And I think his partnership with Kid Buu, that's
Correct.
the ultimate reason why Gogeta Blue fell to number 4 on my list, and why we have the top 2 on the list being Rose and Kid Buu.
That's
so
very
I'll conclude
fair.
My thoughts with Rose here, And we'll go ahead and move on to the honorable mentions. I will go ahead and show
That's
you
why I could
guys
also see
the
Gogeta at
6
number 4. I
honorable
can see
mentions
the
I had.
arguments.
And from there, we'll go ahead
Here's
and
the
talk about
honorable
number
mentions.
1
All
on the
right.
list. All right, so here are my honorable
And,
mentions. We
Trunks
have
of Vegeta,
Red Pan,
17,
we have Vegeta and
Trunks,
Purple 17,
Evo,
the Purple
and
Super Saiyan
Bugros.
Trunks. We have Evolution Blue Vegeta, the Zenkai one. And
Thank
then, of
God
course,
Pan
we
is the
have
first
Super
one to
Saiyan
start.
3
Like,
Goku
Pan
and
deserves
Super
more
Saiyan 2
respect.
Vegeta
It's going to be
tag
real.
character,
Thank
the new
you.
tag character.
I respect it.
I'm not going to really go too much in depth here because I don't want this video to go on for too long. I think when it comes to, could you include these characters on the list? I think there is an argument to be had for every single one of these characters, except maybe for Trunks. I think the purple Trunks.
I agree. Also with the Trunks, I don't know why Trunks is. Yeah, I get it. I haven't had much issues at all. I don't. I've faced plenty of the brand new Trunkses, and he doesn't even compare to the new Cell, even close. So yeah, that Trunks obviously is that cover rescue, which is really good, but everything else is pretty sub to mediocre. Like, he's a good unit, but that's all he is. Evo, fantastic blast base unit. Mid bros, top 15. They can definitely do their thing and be an annoyance for sure, but their defenses are just their overall value, even their nuke of an ultimate move isn't it. Obviously the AoE is really good. 17 fits on a lot of supporting roles, really good glue, so I could see 17 being very close, and along with just the androids. Trunks of Vegeta I could also see in a very similar spot to Evo. Pan obviously is just one of the best supports in the game.
Really
the best support.
The
excuse me.
I think he's a very good character, and I think they did a good job with him. I think he's a little bit actually too underrepresented right now. I think he deserves to be used more than he is right now. I'm not really sure how people summon for him right on the banner with Cell.
Trunks is not that good.
Very good character.
Okay.
I think he does have a pretty solid role in the future on I used him on that hit build, the hit Rose and Blue Zamasu build. I actually swapped out Zamasu for this Trunks because I feel like he fulfilled the role a little bit better on that team for what that third character was supposed to be.
He's an option for sure. But
yeah, he's good. I just think the other 5 characters are a little bit more valuable for their teams than that Trunks is, so I think I'd prefer to use those other characters over him. And if you were going to make an argument for any of those characters to be on the list, I think all 5 could make it over the Trunks. One other character that I couldn't fit on this team here for honorable mentions is the Zenkai Yellow Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I think he's still really good. GT definitely has seen a decent decline recently, not anything too crazy. But you could definitely slot him into the honorable mentions as well.
Orku.
The one character I do want to talk
a lot of people are not going to be happy about that.
Is the newest one, which is
I agree though. I mean, I'd put him over the Trunks. I'll put him over the Trunks. Forku over the Trunks. I'd put Forku over mid bros.
I think with this being their first time really testing out the
they have no teams. These guys, this unit has
mode or the
little to no teams,
whatever you want to call it. That like sort of
even like Boo Saga is not even a team.
Switch or whatever.
Leader him on androids or something.
Their first time like dealing with that mechanic, I think they might have just like undertuned it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. During like the initial testing phase of this character, where like day 1 we were using him, it felt ridiculously overpowered. But as we started to fight better players that had more stars on their characters, players that had better team builds, better equipment, etc.
Correct.
I started to experience times where this character's transcended
underperforming.
Wouldn't even do like half of the HP of the enemy team.
Correct.
And
I'm glad this unit's not instead,
because a mechanic that you basically spend the entire match preparing for and building up towards,
and then it doesn't
really feel like the payoff is as good as it should be. And it's not just that. It's we
wanted to nuke, like actually kill everybody.
Tools that a lot of other modern characters have access to, like this character
Vanish Restore,
Vanish Engage.
Yep.
This character doesn't really. They don't have endurance nullification on their blue cards, which is really strange.
Really strange.
I guess they sort of just wanted to move that over to the Transcendent Kamehameha, but they should have also had that on their blue cards because that would have made them a lot better. As always, the Vegeta side just feels
mid bros, man. Mid bros.
Vegeta's supposed to be the defensive part of this character.
Top 15. We're trolling. Top 15 is still very solid.
He doesn't get cover null, so it just feels very
lacking comparative to everybody else on the list. Right?
Conditions, and Vegeta doesn't really help out in that regard. And the main issue I've encountered when faced with an enemy, right? So if the enemy switches, they would then gain an additional 50 ki. That would have made a massive difference for this character, and I didn't put them on the list.
Yeah.
And I think there is merit in that too, because
I can see why he's putting these units here.
I will tell you guys straight up, I fought that character maybe once. It's like with a character as hype as that, Super Saiyan
Which
3
unit is he
Goku and
talking
Super
about?
Saiyan 2 Vegeta from the Kid Buu.
Okay, still talking about Boo Bros.
Like
all right.
the end of Dragon Ball Z. That is
It's a fairly new unit. Like, this unit literally just dropped, and for him to be this low, like, I think he's putting him last on honorable mentions here. I don't know if this is ordered or not, but I think it is. To have him on, this is insane,
like almost
bro.
None of them in PvP. That is very.
I'd put him there too. I'd put him at like number 15
that's why I have
or something.
Him in honorable mentions, and that's really only a negative view of the character. I still think they're actually pretty good, right? They're not like, you know, oh my god, they're so bad they're unusable.
They're just good.
That's not the case at all.
They're just good.
They're still a good unit, and they can still put in work.
Good is not enough
just,
nowadays.
When you compare the character to the rest of the top units in the game, I think they do fall off a little bit in comparison to them.
Hit the nail right on the head.
Coming in at number 1.
Number 1 in the game.
Best
oh my
units
goodness.
list, May 2023 edition, is going to be Ultra Kid Buu here.
Okay.
The biggest targeted
I can see it. Like I said,
I
can
think
definitely.
it was necessary. I think Gogeta Blue was running around for far too long as the best character uncontested. So I think this is very healthy for the game. From a macro viewpoint, that we did end up
partners up with Rose, whether it's 1-2.
It sort of opens up the game for
very solid
characters in the game to actually do stuff.
One of the more toxic autopilots,
you know, character be the best forever, right? So eventually there's going to have to be some kind of power shift here. And I think they
want to hear his reasoning for that number 1 positioning, like over Rose.
Perspective is just straight up better than Gogeta Blue in every way, right? The reason why this Kid Buu was a good release, in my opinion, is because, again, he countered Gogeta Blue, which we didn't have before, and so that sort of creates a level playing field, because I would argue that every character on this list has at least some characters able to counter them pretty hard.
Very true.
That is the fact that we now have
that is a super solid point. It's not like an overwhelming power creep to the point of, wow, these units we just summoned for are unusable now. Gogeta Blue is insanely viable with this Kid Buu running on rampant, right? You're still running teams. You could actually partner them together. There's just a lot of diversity in power. So it's a very balanced, drop to where it's like Kid Buu is on a very similar power frame as Gogeta. Obviously, his abilities are kind of a counterintuitive to Gogeta's abilities, so that's where the power creep is. But to where the actual value of what the unit brings to the field and the team combinations and stuff like that, Kid Buu's on a very similar playing field with all the rest of the Ultras, but now being the superior one on this list,
I think
fits very well, in my opinion, with Rose.
Thing for the game.
I think those two.
The downside to that is this character does bring a lot of very toxic mechanics into play, which is, again, the micro perspective, looking at the individual mechanics the character's bringing to the table here. I just think, you guys have had enough time to really experience this character, either playing with him or playing against him, or seeing gameplay that I've uploaded or that other YouTubers have uploaded.
My coffee
you guys
is
understand
done.
how this character is. You guys understand how good he is, what he brings to the table. I think one of the big things that we can say with this character is
he's mentioned it yet.
Just offense, right? He's not just an overwhelming offensive force, which I think he actually is, right? His blue card locking in and getting vanish back multiple times for the blue card, the double card draw speed, the infinite key, infinite combo potential from the green card. But it's also the fact that he's healing every time he draws a card. He's healing when his gauge is broken. He's destroying cards when his gauge is depleted. Like, he's got a lot of intangible.
Pair that up with Zamasu, bro.
Well.
Pair that up.
And I feel that this character is just, it's too easy, right? It's too easy with that green card to really start combos. Basically, the way I like to think about it is
plays,
it's sort of
man.
like an AoE
what I would call breastfed plays.
The LF
easy
Android
plays,
17
man.
Green card, which is
easy to use autopilot, man. So I could understand why he's up here.
So stupid. You just press that, and you get. It's not only that you get priority, and the enemy can't do anything. If you land that green card while you have your gauge filled up, you win. You win the game. Like, you could lock in the opponent with your blue card. You can get your advantage back. His AoE or his ultimate does AoE damage. This character, honestly, he just feels like a cheat code almost sometimes. And again, I will reiterate what I said about this character that I did with Rose. I feel like if you wanted to put Rose at number 1 over this Kid Buu, I feel like you could do that, right? I'm not at all saying that
very intrigued with this list. Have a lot of similar placements.
Number 1 in the game. Like, no, I think
it's
Rose
not
is in that argument as well, and I also think Hit could be in that argument as well. So I don't really think
see
it's
it, all of it
set in stone here.
I think Goresh has made a very solid list. Minus UI. I'd probably remove UI completely from the list. Honorable mentions are all right, solid. Trunks probably shouldn't be there either. Or mid bros, units I would have over that. So you could just check out my list, but they're close to it. They're close. I put them in the honorable mentions, but I don't know if they're in the top 15. I don't know. We'll have to go back on my list and whatnot. Overall, like I said, solid list. We definitely have different, opinions. I do think a couple of his units towards 10, 9, 8, 7 should be alternated. I think Pan probably should be higher valued on the list. I get she's honorable mention. I get that she's not, a unit to individually do much, but she's a supportive main casserole. She's a main casserole on the best teams in the game. I think she should definitely be higher in the 10, and just respectively with Zamasu, with Cell, with some of these third glue units to the double ultra setups. Obviously, double ultra is not the only teams you can run the game. You should still run GT. You can still run movies. You can still run androids. Some great teams, but are they the best? The variants of the double ultras are just too many in differential teams that have different setups. Whether pretty much everything that I have said. If you guys stayed throughout the entirety of the video,
in my experience, the way that I've felt both using this character and playing against this character, he just feels too overwhelming right now. So he's
kind of annoying. So to see red units hit
the next character, we shouldn't really get another banner in March before the anniversary unless it's a filler banner they bring back Ultra Hit or something, which I think they probably will.
Yeah, anniversary is in about 2 weeks time, you guys. 2 weeks time. So very curious to see
anniversary. I'm excited
how they're going
to
shake this up.
Do that because we're in a pretty delicate time here for the game. I think again, from a macro viewpoint, there are a lot of viable teams, a lot of viable characters, but we'll see what kind of toxic mechanics are introduced during the anniversary, because I'm sure there will be multiple.
True. Let me know in the comments what toxic mechanic you think could be implemented. I'm thinking specifically VB, right? And every ultra has a unique gauge or an ability that is tied down to who they are as a character. How about a Spirit Sword unique gauge? If you guys, let me know what you think in the comments of that. Spirit Sword unique gauge.
Number 1 on this list is going to be Ultra Kid Buu. We'll just quickly go through the rest of the list here that we already discussed. So number 10, we had Blue Zamasu. Number 9, we had the red Transformer.
Zamasu should be higher, in my opinion. Cell should be higher. Tag 4's Beast should be swapped with those two.
Number 6 was Beast Gohan.
UI
Goku.
5
was LF.
Get out of the top 10, bro.
Number 4 was
everything
Ultra
else.
Gogeta Blue. Number 3 was Ultra Hit. Number 2 was Ultra
I can understand.
Black. And then number 1
solid list, Goresh. I look forward to
down
potentially doing more reaction videos in the
list,
future. Let me know if you guys would like me to react to anything else or do this type of video more often, because I definitely I've not sat here ever to watch a full video or appreciate or kind of commentate over a video of his before. So I definitely thought it was unique. If you want to go see my list, it's already on my channel. I'll see you guys in the very next one. Drop a like, sub. I'll catch y'all later. Stay frosty.